If I just have this magic power, I would like to alleviate poverty, because when you're poor, never mind the individual suffering, you're destroying the environment because you have to. You have to cut down the last trees to try and grow a bit of food to feed yourself and your family, or to make some charcoal. Or you have to buy the cheapest food, even if that did cause horrendous suffering to animals. I would like to change the unsustainable lifestyle of everybody else. We're just greedy. And I always think of Mahatma Gandhi saying, this planet can provide for human need, but not for human greed. And that is so right. And maybe the hardest of all, but what I really, really, really would love to change without causing any pain or suffering, reduce the number of people on the planet, because there's too many of us. It's a planet of finite resources, and we're using them up. And that's going to mean so much suffering in the future.
The island we're on is Shikinejima. It's one of the Tokyo Islands, just a couple hours south of Tokyo. It's a wonderful island. You've got a very tight-knit community of locals. And so with a lot of them doing fishing, they have a real connection to the sea. For us, this provides the great location with which to carry out our research, investigating what the oceans will look like in the coming century.
Jason Hall Spencer, who is a professor of Plymouth University, UK, first found the spot for such a CO2 bubbling from the seabed is quite useful for studying ocean acidification.
Because a lot of people think the oceans are fine. They don't realize in our lifetimes it's changed radically. Big fish have gone, the water's getting warmer, it's getting more corrosive. Acidification and warming are just two parts of the problem of increasing human population. We've come to this island in Japan, and it's one of a chain of 7 volcanoes. And each of these volcanoes is emitting carbon dioxide from the seabed. And we've been diving in these special places to see what the future might be like in terms of more and more CO2 entering the sea. And it's really worrying, actually, because we see consistent differences as the CO2 levels ramp up. Now, lots and lots of people all over the world are doing experiments in laboratories where you can look, for example, in a bucket or in a test tube or in an aquarium, what the effects of CO2 are in the short term. But it's really difficult to see what the long-term effects of ocean acidification are. The carbon dioxide that we're measuring in the sea next to these volcanoes obviously comes from the volcano. It's bubbling up through the seabed. This gives us a way of looking into the future of what man-made CO2 emissions are going to do. Man is responsible for 95% of the increased CO2 that we see on the planet. Volcanoes contribute a tiny amount to that. But these volcanoes are very useful windows into the future, if you like, of what the ecosystem effects are in the sea. What is ocean acidification? It basically comes about because carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere are rising and rising fast. Okay, so since the Industrial Revolution, we've ramped up carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now, a quarter of that carbon dioxide is dissolving in the sea. And it's equivalent of each and everybody on the planet throwing the weight of a bowling ball into the ocean every day of carbon dioxide. It's acidifying the oceans because it reacts with seawater to form a weak acid called carbonic acid. And that actually makes the water more and more corrosive. And that's a massive change in the chemistry of the water worldwide.